All right, we're good to go.
Woohoo. I like this platform.
Yeah, it's a pretty good platform.
Yeah, I think all of you guys are using it because I worked with the South chapter too.
Mm-hmm. So we'll be able to see people come through um, on the side there.
Good.
Awesome.
Did you have a good weekend?
I had a busy weekend. I am in the middle of moving, so
Ooh, to a
yeah.
bigger place, a smaller place?
Um, in the meantime, my brothers, but I am moving into an apartment in November.
Nice. Ooh, so nice. Oh,
Yeah,
I mean, nobody likes to move, but
I know. It. I didn't realize how much clothes I actually had until.
that's the thing. It's a cleansing. So it's like I always give it away to charity. They have these bins around Toronto that you can just drop them in. So
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, I was just like, I would go there every day because I had something to drop off every
Right.
day moving. And
Yeah.
then you're like, well, you only keep the things that you like anyway.
Mm-hmm. So I'm currently cleaning out the closet.
Nice. Very nice. Well, I don't know.
So
So
I
give
see.
us a shout, those of you who are here. I've put up a little poll. How comfortable are you with your elevator pitch when pitching corporations right now? So we can get a vote. Say hi to us in the chat and say, hey, thank you, Meg. And say what industry you're from. So tell us what industry you're from if you're there. And we're just going to wait for people to start trickling in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing some chimes, but I'm hoping they're not for me. Because, and go ahead. Can you, Brittany, can you see how to do the vote? Okay, so one person. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, so go ahead and vote. Like, I can't see how you vote, but I guess there's like two buttons or something.
So there's a polling section on your right-hand
Oh,
side
okay.
of the chat screen.
Yes,
So
okay,
you'll
I
be
see
able
that now.
to
Oh,
answer your
very
questions there.
nice. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
that's great. And then also in the reactions, in the bottom, the reactions button, that's where you're going to raise a hand. Oh, no, that's a clap. So there's
Right.
nothing to raise a hand here, is there?
There is a
Oh,
raise a
good.
hand on
Okay.
the
Okay.
section. We'll go over those
Oh,
housekeeping
yeah.
instructions. Give
Very
it
nice.
a minute or two for a couple people to trickle
Oh,
in.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So most people, even if they're like CEOs of multi-million dollar companies, let me tell you, they are not comfortable pitching. It's
Mm.
just something about like that performance anxiety. I don't know. I mean, there's so many issues with elevator pitching because one, the pressure's on and you have to do it fast. I mean, when was the last time you did it, Brittany?
It's been a while. I haven't I haven't been in the position to do it.
Oh,
Now
God.
that we're virtual, but it has been quite a minute.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you've ever been to virtual networking, especially on Zoom, what they do is there's this like in the breakout room, there's a clock, a countdown, and then you have to sort of like hurry, hurry, hurry and do it. Otherwise,
Mhm.
you don't even get a chance to meet all the people. It's so much more pressure now because it's virtual and you have to get across what you're saying so much clearer and faster and more concisely. It's just crazy. But that's why we're here.
Yes.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. That's why we're here. We're excited. We're excited.
yes, we are. We'll give it maybe about 2 more minutes for people to join.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, let's see. For those of you who are in the call, please let us know what industry you're from so that I can speak to those industries in the content. So go ahead and let us know what industries you're from so that we can include them. We can talk about them. I can talk about them. I can give you some examples. I can do some teaching about it. And then please go ahead and on the poll tab on the right hand corner, on the right hand side, you can go ahead and tell us how comfortable you are with your elevator pitch when pitching to corporations, because that's what we do, right? This is a business to business forum where You are formally introduced to corporations. How many times a year, Brittany? How many meetings do you guys have
Ooh.
where you're in? Yeah. Would you
We-
say one meeting a week where they have that opportunity, one a month?
Um, it really is a case by case basis. So, some people get those introductions where they want us to introduce them to corporations, or,
Mm,
even if it's just you, or, like another guest speaker of ours. So it's really case by case.
yeah. I mean, I remember looking at diversity events in the United States. Literally, there was one every day somewhere in the United States where you could attend and be introduced to other corporations.
Mhm.
And that's how huge it is. And now I imagine it's happening virtually. Now I imagine it's happening like hybrid. You
Mhm.
guys are having some hybrid events, right?
Correct. We are having our Roar Conference and Matchmaker next week,
Nice.
the 21st through the 23rd.
Hmm.
So we will
That's
be
going to be in
having that.
person, right?
We're having in-person receptions throughout
Okay.
those days, evening receptions, but the actual conference itself is virtual.
Oh, how cool. Well,
Mhm.
I wish I could come to the in person, but it is a little bit of a stretch to come to the US still, even though we're allowed. It's just, there's a
Right.
really long wait from Canada, like to be able to cross back into Canada. So
Correct.
it's like I'm just waiting for a couple more months until everything calms down.
Mhm.
Yeah.
See
So
if
we
we
got
can
10
do.
people. So you guys, if you could, yeah, continue to go ahead, select the poll on the right, do the poll, and then also please let us know what industry you're from.
Mhm.
So write in the chat, and chat is one of the tabs on the right-hand column. Let us know what industry. So industries could be you're in the consulting industry, you're in the coaching industry, you're in the plumbing industry. I mean, of course, it's supposed to be B2B, so it could be you're in the accounting industry or financial industry, whatever industry you work in. Please let us know. So I work in the marketing consulting industry. In fact, it's called the consulting industry. So let us know what industry you're in so that we can go ahead and find out more about you. And then this whole 3 hours is going to be all about you. We're going to drill down into your business. This is a full on training on figuring out who to target, what to say, how to figure out what to specialize in so that you can figure out what to do next.
Mhm.
Thank you, Adrienne, Janitorial Services, Schwenta, Staffing and Recruiting. Very good. Let us know what other industries you're in. And it looks like most of the room is pretty comfortable, Brittany, in
Yeah,
doing their elevator pitch. So I
I
can't
agree.
wait to hear them. I'm really looking forward to hearing everybody's elevator pitches. So
Yeah.
for those of you just joining us, please go ahead and on the right hand column, find the chat and tell us what industry you're in. And then go ahead and go to the poll. And on the poll tab, tell us if you're comfortable or not that great with your elevator pitch. And what's said here stays here, just like Vegas. So don't be shy. Don't be, bashful. And we've got Harvey working with HR and diversity training departments. That's great. Welcome,
Mhm.
everyone. Welcome, Harvey. Um,
So I think, oh, my light just went
please
off.
welcome. Thank you so
I
much.
think I think the majority are getting on around at the same time right now. So let's just
Great.
hop
Wonderful.
into it. We'll go over some housekeeping.
Mhm.
Um, so I want to welcome everyone to our workshop. This is part of our Roar Conference and Matchmaking that is taking place next week from September 21st to the 23rd. Please be sure to sign up for matchmaking on Wednesday to try out your new pitch. Today's workshop is fully interactive class where you'll need to turn on your sound and camera so you'll have a chance to have your elevator pitch polished live. Um,
Woohoo!
you should have received and downloaded the workbook. If not, we will put it in the chat for you. The session is being recorded, and you will be able to replay it on AirMeet's schedule tab. If you are coming up on stage, please be sure to click the raise hand button, and you'll have your pitch repositioned. We will be taking a brief break around 12:30. We want to thank Chala for being on here, and we'll give you the background on Chala's story as well. So Chala Dinkoy is the CEO and founder of the Repositioning Expert. She's a marketing strategist who helps B2B service providers reposition their marketing message to successfully sell their corporate clients. In her former life, Chala was an award-winning marketer at companies such as Pepsi, Pizza Hut, Frito-Lay, Diageo, Playtex, and Bic Incorporation for 18 years. She is now a successful entrepreneur and author of 4 books, including Gentle Marketing, A Gentle Way to Attract Loads of Clients. Chala is also an expert feature on major television networks such as ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, as well as frequent speakers at NASDAQ's Harvard Club of Boston, and international business conferences. So without further ado, I'll let Chala take the floor.
Thank you, Brittany. That's all a mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks. Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with you for the next 3 hours. Welcome, welcome. Please, as I was repeating, go to the chat section on the right column and pick the tab chat and tell us what industry you're from. I see here we have one more added on, Mortaza, saying he's a commercial, he or she, commercial printer offering printing signage promo products, and all the other people who've gone before. Now, the other thing that I'm asking is before I close the poll, please go ahead and go to the poll tab on the right and then pick the poll tab and then go ahead and tell us if you're pretty comfortable or not that great doing an elevator pitch when pitching corporations right now. So go ahead and do that. And then once I see that the number of people who are voting matches the number of people in the session, which it doesn't yet, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. We've got one more. Shannon, welcome, is cybersecurity and technology sales and advisory. Boy, Shannon, am I having a big problem with my cybersecurity? So you are more than welcome, my friend. So let me tell you a little bit about what my life was like. For 18 years, I spent saying no to corporations who were trying to sell to me when I worked for corporations. So 18 years I worked in the marketing and sales departments of large corporations like Pepsi, Pizza Hut, Frito-Lay, Smirnoff, and all that time people were trying to sell to me because I worked for some pretty important brands. And the reason why I kept saying no wasn't because I was mean. I mean, I am from Canada, so we're supposed to be nice, but it's because most of the time the people trying to sell to me were not any different than the people that I was already working with. They had nothing of value to even be able to gain some time with me to come into an actual sales meeting with me. And they had so much competition that not only did I already have someone that I probably liked and trusted who was already doing what they said they did, but their approach in trying to get to me was completely the same as everybody else's. So that's why I'm here to teach you. For the last 9 years, I've been teaching businesses how to get into meetings with corporations and how to sell to them, how to actually close the sale before like they get old, because that's the other thing. It takes 18 months on average to get into a corporation. So the reason why you're here is because most likely you're trying to sell more to other businesses and or to corporations. And today I'm going to teach you, here are some of the things that I'm going to teach you. How do you figure out a way to position yourself? And that's the name of the company, is with the Repositioning Expert. How do you position yourself into the market so that you can say and do things differently in a way that stands out from everybody else, where people are going to give you the meeting. Not only are they going to give you the meeting, but they're going to run after you because you have a very specific specialty around a very specific problem that they need help with. And I'm going to help you put all of that, figure that out, and put all of that together in 5 sections today. We have 5 different sections we're going to go through. Hello, Ash, from Gray Matter Solutions. You're working as a business development director and you're a digital transformation company. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, and Denisha, hello, nonprofit industry representing the New York and New Jersey MSCC. Hey, that's so nice to meet another chapter. All right, guys. So I guess we're ready to close the poll. It looks like it truly is half and half in the room, where half of you are comfortable and the other half are not comfortable pitching to corporations. So I'm closing the poll, and the poll has been closed, and then I'm going to hide it. So here we are. Okay. So as I was telling you, that's how I started. I started to stop, I wanted to stop the insanity of companies pitching to me in a way that was never going to get them in the door. And then I started to help teach them how to do that. Now, what is this behind me? If you guys have ever seen me present at any of the other events, the reason why I have this is it was a good luck charm, because at the beginning of COVID, I lost all of my income. And the reason that happened to me is because I'm in Canada and I made my living by speaking in the US. So I would speak for 60 minutes in the US, and I would close business in the audience, because people would want to hire me to help them with their marketing once they heard how I'd helped all these other people. And that went away. Come March, I think it was the end of March 20th, last year, the borders were closed. I lost all of my speaking jobs. They've slowly since come back because they're now virtual, but the conversion rates have been very different. So what I did at that time was, first I was in the fetal position and I was really, really scared. But luckily I had always invested in my mindset of, because with a name like Chala Dinkoy, of course, I come from an immigrant background we're Turkish immigrants. And while my parents were highly educated, they always taught us to be afraid of money, be afraid of spending money, be afraid of not holding money, be afraid of not, of having credit cards, be afraid of debt. So that's all they taught us, fear around money. So when I had no money and I had no scheduled money coming in, it was really, really, really hard for me to spend money, to learn how to make money online. But because I'd invested so much in mindset coaching, I was able to do that. And I am back to where I was. And I'm happy to say that next month, I'm going to be buying my dream car. So I'm just blessed to be here. Some of the people on this call have supported me through that. Some of the people have been instrumental in making that happen. So I want to share with you everything that I learned to make it come back. And this was my good luck, charm that I put up. Thank you. Yeah. So from the fetal position to dream car, I want to take you through that journey to make sure that that's what happens to you as well. And we're going to talk. There's not a lot of us in the room. So we're going to, thank you so much, Danisha. We're going to be intimately acquainted. And that's why I've asked for the right for you guys to be able to turn on your camera and your sound. And I think what has to happen is you have to put up your hand and then you're brought on stage. So we have 5 different sections. So I'm looking for 5 different volunteers for each section. And basically what it is it's you're for free without paying. You're getting the free consultation that I would do for clients one-on-one through each section of helping you with your business, working with you one-on-one on exactly your specific business and customizing each part of the learning to the volunteer's business, whoever is smart enough, lucky enough, brave enough to volunteer. So that's what this is all about. What you're going to learn is, again, first, how do you figure out that gap in the market to position yourself into, where there is a gap, which means like nobody is serving that gap. Nobody is doing what you're doing. And then there's a huge demand for that. And people are willing to pay for it. They're dying to pay for it. They're bleeding for you. That's what I'm going to help you figure out. Where is that gap? How do you figure that out? And then how do you message to that gap? And that's what the whole repositioning expert is all about. Okay. So here's the problem. Let me just give you a couple of statistics to scare the bejesus out of you guys. Here's McKinsey research. 4 out of 5 companies I've met through doing all of this have never gotten business out of meeting buyers and doing their elevator pitch, even after multiple times of doing it. So I would have people saying to me, Chala, I've met this buyer 7 times and we've danced together at the, like the especially I'm talking about WeBank, WBEs, MBs, like at the after parties of these huge long conferences after, a week long conference. They've seen the same buyer for the same company. They know they can help. And the person knows their children's name and they know the buyer's children's name, but they won't buy. So they're like, Chala, what is wrong with us? Why won't they do it? And the reason why is because you're not differentiated. You're not offering something that has to do with what they're bleeding with, they're dying for. So that's the difference. That's what we're going to help you figure it out. So that's one of the statistics. Now, 79% of leads never close is another statistic. And that's really, really, really a huge statistic, because imagine almost 80% of the people who ask you, how much is it, are never going to buy from you. Isn't that horrible? And I know all the ways in which you can lower that rate and mitigate that from happening to you. Here's another one, and this is the reason why I never bought, is because 86% of B2B buyers can't tell the difference between you and somebody else who says they do the same thing that you do. It's differentiation. That's why if you go to my website, repositioner.com, there's an enormous word as a billboard. As soon as you land on my website, it says differentiate your business. That is the number one problem in marketing for most businesses, is because they are the same. And not only that, but when we ask the businesses, 90% of them think there's something different about them. And this is true from you guys to startups to multi-million-dollar CEOs. And yet on the other side, the buyer's saying 86% of us, we think you're the same as everybody else who's doing what you're doing. So that's another problem that we're going to fix today. So what do you do to stand out and to grow when you meet corporate buyers at matchmaking meetings and other events that you're being brought to through this? Like we just heard from Brittany that there's going to be an in-person social aspect to the conference or to an event in the next month. So these are the occasions, and even the formal ones where you sit down. If you remember, it used to be round tables where the buyer would sit and then there would be 10 suppliers and they would each represent, or they would each say their elevator pitch. That's how it all started for me, is before I super niched into diverse businesses and helping them with their elevator pitch. I just helped generic messaging. I was a generic marketing person, a marketing strategist. And then I saw the need and I saw how much in pain they were and how they weren't getting any traction by going to these meetings and investing all of this time and money to become certified and to meet these people. And it's because their messaging wasn't working. And the messaging wasn't working because the strategy wasn't there. Okay. So as you know, I've been where you are. So even when I first started my business, I graduated from a coaching school after being in corporate. I was still in corporate, and it was my moonlighting job on the side. And I thought, oh my gosh, if I just go and get a certification from a accredited coaching university, the clients are going to come. My business is going to be done. And it wasn't true. When I graduated, there was a sea of coaches who were starving, same as me. And I did everything classic. I bought, Facebook ads. I went to trade shows. I did networking. I went and tried to speak to people that I knew, and none of it worked. And the reason for that was because I was missing that missing ingredient that I'm going to show you today. And that's called a super niche. Okay. So what did I do? I got super, super niched and focused. And then it all turned around. 2019 was my best record year. I spoke at 14 conferences in the US in 12 months. I have today he's 12. I'm a single mom of a special needs 12-year-old. He's on the autism spectrum, really high functioning. But so all of my time and resources are for him. And so I was traveling nonstop. It was really, really, really getting to me. But that niche sold so well that I didn't have to pick up the phone once to get myself into any of the conferences that I was asked to speak at. And I made, a huge living with half a VA. I didn't even have a team, right? I have more of a team now because everything is online. So, and I needed all the help. So that's what happened, is that once I changed and became from generic to super niched, my income skyrocketed. And that's what I want for you. I want you to be known for a very specific problem that you solve for a very specific group of people. And we're going to talk about how to do that. Okay. So are you ready to connect to interested buyers now? Are you ready to figure out how to do this for yourself? Yeah? Can I have a show of hands? Yeah. Give me some thumbs up or whatever it is. Yay. Okay, good. All right. Now, don't forget to turn on your videos and your sound when we're going to do the portions of the interaction. So I want you to go to, let me just try to share with you my screen just to show you, and I don't even have to show you that, but I can just hold it up. I want you to pull out your workbook, and here it is. Oh, here we go. If you can pull out this workbook, you guys, and let's go to section 1, building the marketing strategy. Okay. So let's go there. I don't know, something's binging. I hope that's okay. All right. So how many of you don't have this printed out or can't see it at all? You don't have to have it printed out. I like to write it, but you don't have to have it printed out. You just can't type into it. So you'll have to take notes on the side and then do it separately if you want to. So could you just put in the chat if you don't have it? And I recognize, I thought somebody shared the link, but we'll share it again if you don't have it, but just pull this out for now. Okay. So we're going to start at the top. Okay. So part 1 is building the marketing strategy. And the building the marketing strategy is simply 4 pillars of building it. The first is finding your most profitable target. Remember, you have to know who you're going after. In some circles, it's called an avatar. In other circles, it's called a target market. But pretty much, we have to know who we're going after. Pillar number 2 is pick your sweet spot specialty. So you need to have a target. Number 2 is specialty. Number 3 is using your pitch to land the meetings, the third pillar of your marketing. So how are you going to do the messaging? So the third pillar is the messaging. And the fourth pillar is the elevator pitch formula. Okay. And lastly, in the 5th section, although it's not one of the pillars of the marketing strategy, I've added a bonus of showing you how to do a capability statement, because that's one of the things that you're often asked to do. And I want to show you a makeover to show you how different you can position yourself even on one piece of paper. And whether people read it or not, whether diversity officers just throw it in the garbage or not, I don't know if they do, or if they have sophisticated ways to capture that information and to catalog it. I don't know. I can't speak to it. You will know how to stand out better on one capability statement presentation on one page. Okay. So that was the 4 pillars. That was section 1, part 1. The most differentiated marketing strategy is super niched. Now, what do I mean by the term super niched? And I'm going to have a little bit of mint tea in case anybody wants to know. So a super niche is being very specific about who you help and what you help them with. Now, let me give you an example of some of the super niche success stories that I've helped create. When I say super niche, you're going to understand what I mean. A generic IT company who became my client generated $805,000 by super niching in healthcare call waiting or call centers by helping them reduce the wait time for clients or patients who were calling in. They sub-branded something called On Hold Rescue, They only had like a landing page and sent one email. And they were able to sell this service that existed out of nothing because we found the gap in the market that people were calling in healthcare and they couldn't get through. And this was before COVID. Can you imagine now? So that sold $805,000 to an existing client from super niching and finding this gap in the market. I'm going to give you another example. A client who was a wine event planner, right? She used to have she used to work for a corporation in the design industry, and she sold carpets. And what she did is she retired because it was her dream to be a wine connoisseur and to do something with wine because she just was in love with wine. So she decided to become an event planner and do wine events and tasting events. But she had a pretty big corporate salary after 20, 30 years. So what we did is we super niched her into helping banks and financial institutions create wine events to help with the problem of client retention. And she's the only event planner that's ever been invited to business conferences and business panels to talk about client retention. So that's how that gap was filled by what she was doing. And she was able to, what did she do? She doubled her corporate salary by super niching in this, customer retention. So a third example of how super niching helped someone is a generic marketing consultant, like who I was, a generic marketing consultant. He got multiple five-figure contracts, so over $10,000. He got six $15,000 contracts in 6 months when we repositioned him as the fooddistributionguy.com, where he helped food manufacturers like the cookie guy and the soup lady get actually listed in grocery stores like Whole Foods and any kind of grocery stores because it's so hard for them to get listed. And once they get listed, they get delisted really quickly. So that's what I'm going to teach you is how do you find your super niche so that you can find that hook to get in, just to get in. You just want to be able to get into the meeting. Okay. So let's go back to the form. That's me. I was giving you examples. So let's go back to the form, and part number 2 is find your super niche. Section number 1, page 1, section number 1, page 1, and part number 2 is find your super niche. So you find your super niche by picking a very specific target and a very specific pain point to specialize in, okay? And what does that provide? Well, this provides a focus to aim your pitch at, because if you don't know who you're talking to, or you're talking to too many people, it gets lost. People are confused. Often I meet companies that their own salespeople don't even know who they're pitching to, or who they should be pitching to, or they're just guessing it based on whatever their experience and filter and lens has been. The second thing that a super niche provides is relevance for your prospects. When I have, like right now, I'm in the middle of hiring someone and he has no relevant industry experience. And I'm seriously questioning and furiously looking for alternatives because he has no relevance for my pain or my industry. So he has no track record. He has no demonstrated abilities. He has no testimonials. He has nothing. So by picking a lane, by picking a very specific target and a very specific industry and interest group and pain that you help with, you create your marketing to make you look like a million bucks around that pain. Do you remember the Malcolm Gladwell? His book is called The Outliers, and it's all about how, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and all the very, very famous people and the experts at what they do, how they got to doing what they do and being excellent at what they do. And he claims that the magic number is 10,000 hours. Well, I would love it if you had 10,000 hours in exactly my kind of industry and in my pain. Now, I understand that when we start the repositioning, you may not have 10,000 hours, but we're going to make your marketing look like you do. That's what's called repositioning. We reposition you and your content and all of your online presence and visibility and everything into that specific group and into that specific problem. Okay. So number three reason why it's great, what this provides to have a super niche, is that you have a differentiator in your industry. And to me, that's the biggest one, because 86% can't tell the difference between two suppliers. When you super niche, there's very few people who are targeting a very specific industry and a very, very specific pain point. So of course, there's not going to be a lot of people who are doing that. In fact, I've talked to so many people. I have 3 podcasts, and I've talked to so many guests who have said to me afterwards, Chala, I didn't even know that there was someone who did what you did, because they didn't even know to look for that. So what I do is I'm a positioning expert. I help you figure out that super niche positioning, but they didn't know enough to know that they needed that. So that's what I'm saying. It is so niche what I do, but if there's enough of a market who will pay me the amount of money that I want to make, and I've determined that through research, that's when I know that I'm in the perfect super niche. And that's what I want for you. Is we call it the golden position. I want to find your golden position in the market so that you can be making as many sales as I am, so that you can always talk to people who are deathly interested in what you have to say, because they're in so much pain for what you have to give them. Okay. So that was part 2. Part 2. So we went through that. All right. So, and this is fully interactive, so please go ahead and ask any questions that you can through the chat, and then we'll go there. So page number 2 is called, part 3 is called scoring. So how are we actually going to be able to figure this out, you guys? So we score all industries and interest groups in 3 ways on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is fit for you. Your skill set, your background, your interests. So for example, a client who was a vegan had been working with a meat company. And when we scored meat companies as an industry for her to make her super niche so that she could grow her super niche, she had 0 score out of 1 to 10, 0 score for meat companies because she was a vegan. She had 0 interest in working with them. So the first part is your interest, your personal fit for you, first part. The second part is, can they pay you? So you rate their ability on a scale of 1 to 10. How likely are these people to pay you whatever your price is? 10 being the most likely. And then part 3 of scoring is access to check signers. Can you actually, in your network, reach these people? Are these people gathering in a large group on a monthly basis so that you can intercept them even if you're a stranger? And I'll give you an example. Is one of my clients wanted to target doctors, and she didn't know a single doctor, and she didn't belong to any of their associations. And doctors are really hard to reach if you're not in their networks, because they're constantly working and they've got either patients or they've got the secretary guarding them. So that's why she could not reach them. So for her, after doing some research, the score for that was 0 out of 10 to be able to reach her check signers. Okay, check signer meaning the person who can influence the purchase for you, or to actually be able to sign the check and to hire you. Okay, so, and last part in this section is part number 4 on page 2 is, what is an industry? Remember, I want you to pick, if it's B2B, I want you to pick an industry. So what is an industry is, it has to have a governing body, so like the association of whatever. Now, I also include interest groups, but for example, MBEs, WBEs, they have a governing body, right? EMSDC is a governing body. WeBank is a governing body. So as long as there's an association or organization and they have a governing body, they self-gather in large numbers. So that is the hallmark that I want you to look for when you're going to target someone. Do they have an industry that has an organization and a governing body? Number two, do they have frequent events? So on part number 4, what is an industry? It must have a governing body or bodies. So, for example, like the IT industry has more than one association of IT, right? It's everywhere. You can find them everywhere. Events, as I said, do they have events and meetings that you can go to? It can be online, offline now. LinkedIn groups, you look at LinkedIn and immediately you can see if they're big enough. They're actually holding LinkedIn events through those groups potentially, but you want to be able to get into those groups. And then publications, meaning do they have newsletters? Do they have blogs? Do they have podcasts? Does that industry have a lot of audience where people are gathering with their eyes and ears? Because your marketing is gonna place you in front of them. That's why I want you to have all those things. And then, of course, do they have local chapters? So the last part is chapters. What is an industry? It must have a governing body, events, LinkedIn chats, publications, and chapters. Okay. So those are the things that an industry must have. Now, what I'd like to give you 2 minutes, and this is where I'm going to take my first volunteer. And what I'd like you to do is, it says 5-minute huddle, but we'll do 2 minutes on your own, and then I will ask someone to work with me so that I can show you how to do this. So what is it? What industry scores the highest for you is I want you to put 2 or 3 different industry names that you can work with. So put IT, healthcare, electronics or technology companies, or aeronautics or aerospace, whatever the industries are, healthcare, HABA, whatever it is. And then I want you to score it from 1 to 10, 10 being the best fit for you. So remember, fit for you. So make sure, is it a good fit for you? Do you have any experience in this field? In this industry, do you know anything about it? Do you like it? And then I want you to pick from 0 to 10, or sorry, 1 to 10. What is the dollar potential? Can they pay you the amount of money that you want to make? And then what is the access on a scale of 1 to 10 to the decision maker? So do you know a lot of those people? Is it a 0 or is it a 1 or a 10? And then I want you to total the score. Okay. So that's what the exercise is. Are there any questions, and who would like to volunteer? And we'll have 2 minutes. And you guys, I can't stress enough, if you don't want to volunteer, there's not going to be any learning. So yeah, please raise your hand to join the stage. And it's going to be a very dry training if nobody volunteers. Plus, you won't even get the benefit of attending. It won't even be worth your time to attend if you don't want to work on your business. So I fully encourage you to volunteer, and ask me any questions if you don't know what to do. But currently what we're doing is the first page 2, part 4, 5-minute huddle. And I'll give you 2 minutes to write down the industries and then score it for yourself. And then we will go ahead and do 1 volunteer. Okay. We've got 2 minutes on the clock.
Hey, Chala.
Hey.
We have one who has raised their hand, and this is Shannon. If you want, I will bring him to the stage.
Perfect.
All right.
Let's do it.
We're on. Good morning, folks.
Hello, Shannon. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How's everyone?
Thanks for volunteering.
I was hoping to get lost in the fold, but being one volunteer doesn't exactly provide coverage.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, we're very lucky that today is a very like small intimate group, and I usually like there's so many people who volunteer that I can't get to all of them, and then they're all like upset. So I think we're in a really good spot. So if you want to share, you have an amazing picture, but if you want to share, you can share your camera if you're able to, if you have one.
Yeah, my office is actually kind of dark, so probably won't see me too clearly in the back, if that's okay.
That's fine. Okay. So why don't you tell us what is the industry name give me 2 industries that you could potentially target?
Sure. Industry name number 1 would be transportation.
Okay.
And industry name number 2 would be government. And I know government is quite broad, but given that we're in cybersecurity and technologies, a lot of government agencies that have any active active dependencies on technologies, waterworks, light, electrical.
So utilities.
Yeah, utilities. State and local government probably is a better fit.
So you can slice it up by saying utilities, and you could even get even finer by saying local. So that would be like, is that municipal? Is that, federal? Is that,
Okay.
So I would slice it down. So let's go to the scoring. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what's the fit for your? I mean, you can score it for obviously. Do you own the company, or are you a sales rep for the company? What is it that you do?
I own the company.
Okay, so then it is a fit for you. So fit for your background, skill set, and experience for transportation.
So it's a 10. I spent 15 years in the transportation industry.
Perfect.
Working for a government agency that was a utility company, basically.
Perfect.
So I think that's why it makes just a good fit.
So would you say that the government utility is also a 10?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Now, the next question is, what is the dollar potential? So let's say you're trying to make from one new client. Give me an expectation of revenue from one client. Is it $1 million? Is it 500? Is it 100,000? Give me a number.
Right. So
on average.
On average, I would say it would be in the millions.
Okay, so let's say 5 million per year.
Let's say 2
million a year. Okay.
For us and our size, obviously, for larger companies, it would be a lot more. Like IBM was just granted an $85 million contract. So it really depends on your size.
How about for you? I'm only talking.
For us, it would be around the 2 to 3 million mark.
Great. So what is the likelihood of a transportation company paying you that per contract on a scale of 1 to 10?
I think it's it is highly likely. We have it as a 10 only because there's a lot of regulatory compliance that they must require to pay the vendors. Okay. So if it's about the likelihood of getting paid versus the likelihood of getting the contract, I was looking at it as likelihood of getting paid after services has been completed. Does that make sense? That's not.
Yeah, okay. Let's do. Yeah, so I see what you're saying. Yeah, no. The likelihood of them choosing you.
Then I'll drop the number down to 8 then.
Okay, great. Now, what is the likelihood of the government utilities choosing you to pay that much money?
I would say an 8 as well.
Okay. Now, hopefully the third one's going to be the tiebreaker, but if not, you will have to, I'll tell you what to do in that case. So the third category that we're scoring is the access to the people who make that decision to hire a company like yours in transportation companies. Who would that be? Who's that person?
The title?
CEO, yeah?
Yeah, it's usually the CTO or CISO, okay. Chief Technology Officer, Chief Information Security Officer, or
perfect. So what is your reach on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being, I know them all. They're all my good friends. I can reach them all. I have any.
For transportation, I would say it's a 7.
Okay. And what about for the government utilities?
For government agencies, I would say it's a 5.
Okay. So there's a tiebreaker. So can you see clearly 25 and 23? Can you see clearly how transportation would be the better choice for you to pursue at this point?
Absolutely.
Okay. So what I want to say is what Shannon went through, and very brilliantly, is only the back of the envelope gut check. This is not the way that you go ahead and you do your actual plan. The second stage is where we actually go out and we talk to actual human beings, and then we actually ask them in a research that's designed for just really small businesses like us to be able to find out, is this true? Okay. And we add to the fact finding portion, we add the pain. So I'm going to talk about the pain, which is section number 2. Thank you, Shannon. And I might have to pick on you again because you were brilliant. But let's see if anybody else will give everybody else a chance too. But thank you so much for playing.
Thanks for having me.
So section number 2, everyone. So did everybody see, and are there any questions on what we did with Shannon around the first exercise of figuring out how to score and look at the market and see where is the potential? It's just gut. It's a gut. If you don't check your gut, if you go and you do, I have lots of people who meet me on free like conferences or where I'm doing this education, I do free masterminds, and that's where they stop. They're like, okay, that's it. I'm going to go after transportation. But there are so many more important things that you need to do by reaching out to them that's those outreach moments actually turn into the sale. So that's the missing piece, is don't stop here, go to the next stage. So let's go on to the next stage. So it's section number 2, page 3. I'm on page 3, section number 2. Let me see if I forgot anything. No, I didn't. Okay. So part 1 on section 2 is pick your sweet spot specialty. And it says your specialty needs to be about one facet. Remember a diamond? Diamond has many facets, but just pick one facet of your target prospect's pain. There's a misspelling there. Target prospect's pain. And 70% of humans purchase based on pain. Only 30% buy based on improving something. So if you don't use and leverage this human statistic, this human fact, you're going to be missing the boat. And so much of marketing that I see misses the boat because they're always talking about what you can do for someone, what you can enhance for them, what you can add to their lives. But people are only operating on pain. They're not only, 70% are operating on pain, but that's a huge majority of people. My favorite saying is when there's no pain, no sale, no pain, no sale. So the most dangerous, here's the statement that I want you to remember if you remember nothing else out of this whole day, is the most dangerous way to figure out your target prospect's pain is to guess it. And I don't know, that I have a podcast called Marketing Mistakes. It's called Naked Marketing. And it's naked because people get vulnerable about their marketing mistakes. I'm like 60 episodes into it. And all the guests are telling me that they guessed at their marketing because they didn't know what they didn't know. And oftentimes they didn't want to spend the money to figure it out or hire an expert or whatever it was. They just kept throwing spaghetti at the wall, money at Facebook ads, whatever it was, and it just didn't work. And the reason for that is because they were guessing at their strategy. They're guessing at their sweet spot. They're guessing at the gap in the market. They're guessing at who they should target. It's a guess. Okay. So section 2, page 3, part 2 is 3 ways to find your target's pain. So the 3 ways are, let me take a sip. Okay, the 3 ways is 1, ask them. That's how we do the second portion of our research with clients. Ask them. Number 2 is Google it. Fine, Google it, but don't let that be the only one. I once hired a marketing expert, and I'm a marketing expert, but I was impressed by this woman for whatever reason. And I hired her and I paid more money than I've ever paid. I mean, for some, it was like the cost of a small car, and it was for one day. And she sat and she Googled it. And she was wrong about who I should target and what I should become a specialist in. So don't ever do that. And that was a lesson to me. I'm like, this is what I teach. And the third way to find your target's pain is ask their customers and their suppliers, and they will know. They will know. So ask them, Google it, but never by itself, in conjunction with all the other ways, and then ask their customers and suppliers. Okay. So on your own, what I want you to think about the top 3 pain points that you're assuming that they have of your target. Remember I said don't guess anything? This is the time to guess. First, it's like we're doing an experiment. We're scientists and we have some hypotheses about what their possible pain points could be. And the reason why I'm letting you guess at this stage is because if we go to them blank and say open-endedly, tell me what is the most persistent and costly issue you have in your business today, they're going to be completely blank. Because whenever we used to do consumer research and we would ask them for the solution or what the problem was without giving them some hints, they would be completely lost. It's like when Henry Ford said, if you ask people what they wanted in trying to discover the car, they would just say they wanted faster horses because they never had a concept of the car, of a car. So that's the same concept of why we're starting with what is their known pain that we're guessing is their pain. And in order to get to that, I want you to do the pre-selection of Googling it, talking to them, and then talking to them informally, and then talking to their networks. And then we do the research and we go and talk to actual prospects in that industry. And then we ask them some questions. So that's the part where you're going to do the 5-minute huddle, which is not a huddle. We'll just do it together. I'll give you again 2 minutes and then we'll go through. You're supposed to, after this training, what I want you to do is reach out to at least one decision maker, which is the check signer that you know in your target industry. So in Shannon's case, it would be transportation, and verify the most expensive of the 3 pain points that you identified in this section. Okay. So what we'll do is I'll ask for another volunteer. You'll tell me who your ideal target industry was in the exercise before. And then I want you to tell me what are the 3 most expensive business problems that they have that you can solve for them. And then we will go from there. Okay. And then I'll tell you what to do after that. So you've got 2 minutes and I'm looking for a new volunteer. Otherwise, I'm going to have to pick on poor Shannon, who's been so, brave, but I'd like to help another person's business if possible. Okay. So we'll give 2 minutes. And strategic or tactical pains, both. Strategic is preferable. If they're expensive, Shannon, I want them. Okay, so we'll talk about that. All right. So Shannon's very smart because he's getting in on the action. He's already asking about the exercise. So let's go with 2 minutes, and then we'll ask for a volunteer. So again, in the somewhere, I think you raise your hand in the right-hand column to be able to brought on stage. And then we'll go from there. So 2 minutes, guys. Okay, everyone. Do we have a volunteer to do this pain exercise with, where we're guessing at the industry's pain? We have a shy bunch. I wonder if I can pick people. Would that be rude? Is Harvey still with us? Harvey Smith? Are you still with us, Harvey? Yeah. Do you want to come on and try this? Do you want to put your, oh, Valerie. Hi, Valerie. Let's see if Harvey's going to bite. Harvey, do you want to come on the stage? Does Harvey have to like raise his hand for you to be able to bring him on, or how does it work?
Let me see if I can actually bring him on. I think I can. Harvey.
Well, if he wants to be, I don't know if he wants to be.
Harvey, give us the thumbs up if you want to be shown on stage. Oh, I think we have.
Okay, Harvey's going.
There we go.
Yay, awesome. Okay. All right. So I guess you do have to raise your hand to be able to go on. Is that it? Oh, Valerie's saying I'll choose you. Valerie, I love you. Thank you, Harvey. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm sorry I had
Okay.
to like pull you out of the anonymity. Okay.
Okay.
So I wanted to talk about your business because I think it's really interesting. So did you happen to do the exercise before?
Yes, I did.
So what industry did you end up targeting?
It would be the Human Resources Department
Of which specific
of corporations.
So, that's a really good answer because a lot of people pick by function of the person, right? So the function
Right.
is HR, but I'm really interested in the industry because we can message to the industry leaders and the industry problems and the industry statistics, and we can hang out in the industry gatherings. So that's why I do realize, I mean, there's SHRM and there's HR, there's functional gatherings, but I'm a little bit more interested in the industry because they have more endemic problems than by function.
Okay, one could be the airport or transportation industry.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. So let's say transportation. So it's airport transportation, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Great. So tell me, what is the number? Tell me 3 problems that you help them solve.
Okay. The first would be trying to improve relationships among a diverse staff.
Okay. So bad relationships amongst diverse staff. So what is that causing? So I want you to think of this pain and position it as a business cost. What is the cost? Like, I don't want you to give me the dollars, but what is the actual cost of?
Yeah, the cost is a situation in which the people in the department feel, some do, left out, especially the women who feel that they're being overlooked for promotions.
Overlooked for promotions. Okay. And what does that cause for the business?
The business itself will suffer.
And in what way?
In the sense that they won't be able to get their marketing plans realized.
Meaning their sales, you mean? They won't.
Oh, yeah, sales.
Okay, so bad relationships cause women to, bad relationships with diverse staff actually causes a company to miss its sales objectives.
Objectives, right.
Okay, missing sales targets due to diverse staff to lacking diverse staff relationships. Okay, that's number one.
Right.
That's great. What's another one?
Number two, and very similar, trying to improve communications among the diverse staff.
And what is it causing if they have bad communications? Is it causing the company to lose sales again?
It's the same thing, yes. And what happens is people within the department just feel like they don't belong. And as a result, they don't participate as fully as they possibly can. And that leads to, as we think, lost sales.
Okay, so I wonder, because we already said lost sales, what is another problem that you help solve? Could it be turnover?
Turnover, yes, exactly.
Okay, so the turnover cost is having to find, hire, and onboard, right? So
That's exactly right, yes.
find, hire, and onboard. And what's the third problem? So one is sales, losing sales. Two is
And very similar to that is trying to improve leadership skills.
okay.
And this is something that we were told up front in our discussions with them, is that some of their managers lack proper leadership skills of how to properly manage their subordinates. And so that's one of the things that we were brought in to help address that particular problem.
And what is that causing? Like, yes, they can't manage their subordinates, but what business result is happening because of that?
Again, it all gets back to sales. Because you really think that when you don't have good managers as good as they could be, then that's going to impact your bottom line.
Okay. So when you say bottom line, that's profitability, right?
Yes.
And so the first one was sales, which is top line.
Top line.
The third one is bottom line, which is
bottom line.
The first one is sales, the bottom line. So in what way can we make a link to how they lose profitability through the lack of leadership? Is it because the productivity is low, which that means they're not producing as much or as good quality? So
they're not, they don't feel that they belong, and so they don't buy in, and as a result, the productivity is lower than it could be.
And productivity. Okay, so lack of work quality and productivity causing loss of profits, right?
Yes. Yes.
So that's the bottom line. Okay, so we've got three really good problems. Now, do you know what you do with these?
Yes. Well, I'm going to ask you to tell me.
Yeah. So what you do is you find, after we hang up, you call somebody in the airport transportation department. And what is the title of you said the title was the HR manager or the HR?
Yes, we deal directly with the HR manager.
Right. But who makes the decision to hire you? The director or?
Oh, no, the CEO.
Okay. So then you forget the HR department. I want you to go straight to, if you can, a CEO that you know of an airport transportation company, or somebody who can actually influence him to bring you to talk to him. Do you know
her
like that, or her? Do you know anybody like that you could connect to?
Possibly.
Right. So, and here's the thing: you're not trying to sell to them, right?
Right.
This is an information, and it can't be done with someone who you don't know or someone you're not introduced to by someone they trust, because you're asking them to open their heart and to say, okay, which is the most expensive problem for your company? They're not going to talk about problems with a stranger or a vendor. It has to be someone you know from a past life or someone who's introduced you, and for a reason. So if you can't, and that's the part of the research that we did in the last part, which was, can you even reach them? Do you remember there was the percentage of like 1 to 10 rate your access to these people? Well, if you don't have that much access, maybe you should target another group. That's the whole idea. So let's say you do, because it came out high, that you had enough access, and you have to talk to people who know you, like you, trust you, or know you from someone else, that they're gonna be able to open their hearts, and you're gonna say to them, John, whoever the person is, I'm just gonna ask you just one question about, I'm just trying to work on my marketing. So, and I know that you've been working in this industry for a long time. I just wanted to know, of the three problems, which is the most expensive one for you right now? So then, you ask him, is it having lower sales because of bad relationships with the diverse staff? Or is it, communication, lack of communication is causing turnover? Or is it that the lack of leadership is slowing down productivity, so you're losing quality of work and dollars in the bottom line? So you ask him the three questions and say, if you had like one last dollar to spend, John, where would you spend it? And then he's going to pick it. He's going to say, well, right now there's something called the Great Resignation, and people are walking out in droves, and we've got bigger issues. So
Right.
like it's going to say it's number two. Do you see? So that's how we find out what is the missing gap in the market, you guys. This is $1 million question. And right now, a lot of my clients we're redoing this research because things have shifted in the market. There you are.
Yeah.
But does that make sense, Harvey?
Yes, it does. It does. And I'll certainly do that.
Yeah. No, have you ever done anything like this before, where like you wrote down their problems and then you went at them with them and say, hey, which one is the biggest?
No.
Right?
We have never done that. And,
Perfect.
it does make sense to do it that way, though. Yes.
That's great. Now, are you responsible for sales in your company by yourself, or is there anybody else who helps with doing outreach?
No, I do it all.
It's okay. So you're the perfect person to do this, but make sure to leave it open-ended and say, like, if none of these, if I didn't guess right, is there a bigger problem that I'm not guessing here? And then they're going to tell you. So for example, the client that had the healthcare and the call wait times, we didn't know. We didn't have that on our list. She just asked, she said, is there something I'm missing? And they said, yeah, there's a problem with the call waiting. And we sold them on that. That became every healthcare she talked to, they were like, yes, there's a big problem with on hold. So does that make sense, that you literally find out from the pulse of the humans that you're talking to right then and there what the industry problem is? So I want to give you a couple of things to watch out for, though. If you're talking to someone who's not high enough, Harvey, they're not going to know. They're not going to know. They're not going to understand what a business cost truly is. And I'll give you an example. A client who had a meeting planner business, she, instead of talking to the business owners, like the corporate heads of the corporations, to understand what the problem was, she was talking to the secretaries, and the secretaries just kept saying, we just need the rooms filled. The meeting rooms are not getting filled. But they couldn't understand that the meeting rooms not getting filled meant that they're losing sales. So you need to talk to someone senior enough to be able to understand and speak to the macro strategy. Does that make sense?
Yes, that could be like a CFO.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Like, it's got to be someone. Yeah. And please talk to people who can buy from you. I've had clients who've had these things filled out by their aunts and uncles and whatever, right? Or by people who are retired. Like, that's nice to know, but they can't hire you. So don't waste your time with them. Right. This is just as much a sales activity as it is a fact-finding activity. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. All right, you guys. Okay, so the next part is the really good part, and I'm going to do some teaching, and then we'll give a break. And the brave ones who want help will show back up, and we're going to do the actual elevator pitch polishing. And remember, that's one of my podcasts. It's called Polish My Pitch. And literally, people come on the show and they do their 30-second, 1-minute elevator pitch. And then I ask for their permission if I can give them some feedback. And then they say yes, because they're on the show. And you're here. So that's what we do, is I go ahead and I give them some suggestions. So, and now you have more information on how to do that. But let's start. Go to page 4. How are we doing on time? Okay, page 4. And it says section 3, part 1, the niched elevator pitch formula. Okay, So the niched elevator pitch formula is the target you help. So remember who you help, the industry, plus problem you solve, plus how you help. Well, we help them by, training, doing systems, we do assessments, whatever it is, how you help to enhance the effectiveness. So basically, the elevator pitch formula is the target you help, plus the problem you solve, plus how you help. Now, if you want to make it even better, to enhance the effectiveness, add a statistic and the result of working with you. Okay, so I'm going to say all of that again after I take a sip. Okay, so the niched elevator pitch formula is the target you help plus the problem you solve plus how you help. Now, to add to that, I want you to put in a statistic about the pain plus a result of working with you, the result of working with you. So here is an example. 3 out of 4, and it's written here, but I'm not going to look at it because this is my elevator pitch. This is what I do all day, every day. 3 out of 4 business owners I meet, and I change that according to specifically if I'm talking to a WBE or an MBE. So 3 out of 4 MBEs, and it's true, it's a true statistic for all of those groups that I meet, have never been asked for their information or for a sales meeting after introducing themselves to their ideal prospect. What I do is I help fix what they're saying so that every hello turns into a request for a meeting. That's what I do. So did you see how I broke it down? Who I help is the business owner, WBE, MBE. What problem is, every time they do an introduction, an elevator pitch, it never gets anywhere. They never get asked for their information. They never get asked for a meeting. And what I do is I help fix what they're saying, their messaging. I'm a messaging expert. And then what I did was I enhanced that by adding a result so that every time they open their mouth to say hello to a new prospect, they get a meeting. That's the result. And the other enhancement was the 3 out of 4, the statistic. So that's what I want for you. I want you to use this formula. You can use the basic one if you like, just the target you help plus the problem that you solve and how you help. And then I want you to go ahead and add the enhancements of the statistic of the pain and then the result of working with you. And you can take my example as your example. Okay. So what I'd like to do is give you 2 minutes to do that. We'll do 1 volunteer before we go on break. So please go ahead and raise your hand, or Valerie will pick one or I'll pick one. I mean, that was very sweet of her. Yeah, so let's have 1 volunteer. And in fact, I want to do at least 5 volunteers when we come back. Okay, so I'll do 1 now, and then we'll do 5 after we come back from the break. Okay, so I will give you 2 minutes to write this down, to formulate it. And in fact, what I'll do is I will write down the formula here: target you help plus problem you solve plus how you help is the elevator pitch formula. So go ahead. I need 1 volunteer now in 2 minutes. And don't worry if you don't have it. We'll just build it together. And then 5 after the break, if you're still here. All right, you guys, this is fun for me. So I hope this is fun for you because it's all in service of you, right? That's why we're all here. So we'll do 2 minutes and then we'll do the volunteering. All right, so. Valerie, I love it. It's true. I used to hate to volunteer, you guys. I was the same way. I'm very shy. But There's not that many of us here, so don't worry. I'll be gentle. Okay, guys. All right. Ooh, there's a new halo around me. Okay, so are there any volunteers? I don't see any raised hands. So Valerie, you want to go ahead and pick someone? It'll be your lucky day. My geometry teacher used to say, he who asks a question is a fool but for a minute, and he who does not is a fool forever, meaning if you want to pass the test, you've got to figure out what you don't know. Be brave and raise your hand. Adrienne. I like the little story. Perfect. Adrienne, are you still with us? Oh, Ash did. Oh, okay. Well, Adrienne, Ash will use you after if you don't mind. So that's great. Yeah, for some reason I didn't see it.
So I've invited her to the stage, waiting for her response. But if we don't get a response,
it's like, how do you force people, right? Well, at least we've got one more volunteer. But the more you guys hear the polishing of somebody's pitch, the more you'll be able to polish your own. And hopefully I'll get to you, because really there's not that many of us, and I'm able to do almost all of you. So there's no reason why you shouldn't be volunteering to actually talk about your elevator pitch, unless you're never ever going to be doing it. No one's ever going to ask you what you do and who you help. In which case, then it's just a nice to know. And it'll be nice for other people on the call for you to meet you. I always often find that people who are volunteers get so much business just from the people who attended, because visibility is money in business, for sure. Are we in a delay?
Here we go. I'm gonna invite Ash to the stage.
Yeah, and then Harvey's also raising. Good job. Yeah. All right. Hi, Ash.
Hi, Jala. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for your time in this session.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Well, there you are. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm in Canada too, so.
Oh, really?
Sure.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great. So you're a business development director, and you're a digital transformation company, and you help corporations with mobility, automation, security, and professional services. That's perfect. Okay.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
do you have a team, or you're it? You're the man who goes and gets the business?
No, we have a team. Basically, the company is in US. We're trying to expand our services in Canada as well. So that's where I'm helping them in. I'm working as an independent contractor. So, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so let's see, of the previous exercise, what was the industry that you're targeting?
So I'm targeting for the exercise only a manufacturing industry.
Okay, and which kind, like food or clothing or automotive?
Automotive, to be honest.
Automotive. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Now, what is the pain? The number one most expensive problem you help them with?
So one of the niche markets we target is we deal with only SAP installed factories or companies. So the
Okay.
companies which are using SAP solution only, right?
Yep.
So our solutions are based on SAP. So we're trying to figure out if these clients are able to work with us. The pain that they usually have is SAP is a very, very large system. Every time they do an activity, they'll have to go back to the office, feed in a lot of data. So what we're trying to do is solve that problem of mobility issues. So our mobility solutions basically help the worker on the floor input all the data without having the problem of keeping all the notes, coming back and doing all the things. And it happens in real time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is it causing? How much money are they losing because these workers on the floor are inputting data?
So there's a lot of savings. We've usually saved around 20-25% on maintenance costs alone for some of our existing clients.
Okay, so but I guess the question is, what is the number one problem that happens because the worker on the floor is inputting data? What
For
happens?
Yeah, absolutely. So what happens is they might put the data incorrectly. That causes a problem. So there's a
Incorrect.
stock issue. There's a delay in processing the order. So if it's a critical machinery that's broken down, that they'll have to go back, get the machinery, check whether there's a stock. If it's not there, then they have to order it. So it becomes a big challenge for that particular worker. Then he has to highlight it to the managers, and the whole process takes longer than what it should be. But with our solution, what happens is they have all that information on the palm of their hands. All they have to do is figure out which part has failed and what needs to be replaced, if they have it in store or not, and they can request somebody to get it for them on the site rather than going back to the stores, getting the items and coming back. So I mean, it's a matter of efficiently managing the entire process.
Okay, so and what I'd like to do is to make it like put some statistics around it and to make it very specific. So something like, did you know that 70% of auto manufacturers lose $1 billion a month in delayed shipments due to incorrect SAP orders?
Yeah. Okay.
Whatever. I mean, I just tried to pick out what you were saying, but you would I want you to get very specific about what the problem is and then what it's causing and how much it's costing them as an industry. And then what you say is what we do is we give you a solution, an app type solution in the palm of your hand to increase the ordering process by 50%.
Got it.
Something
Yeah.
like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does.
So, for example, if you were in a room full of, instead of us, if you're in a room full of auto manufacturers and somebody asked you to put what is it that you do on the chat, that's what you would write. And because of where you are marketing or networking, and because of how specific what you said is, you would be noticed. Versus if you were to put what you put today, which is so broad, so generic, there could be 10 of you in that room. Do you see the difference? Of generic versus super niched? Now, I know that all your income doesn't come from doing that.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
it's a hook. You hook them into a pain and then you cross sell them everything else. So that's often what happens. I needed someone to fix an issue on my email. I found an expert and then they helped me with everything else in developing out my website and everything else. So does that make sense?
It does, Chella. It does.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for volunteering. Okay,
No worries.
everyone.
Thank you.
So we're going to break and we're going to break for 20 minutes. So it's 12:30. It's almost 12:30. So we'll come back at 12:50. And when we come back, and you can feel free to turn off, well, you guys already have your camera and your sound turned off, but I guess we're going to be picking volunteers if nobody volunteers. So it's going to be the word volunteer doesn't really have much of a meaning, but join us and then see us fix, give you, it's not about fixing your elevator pitch as much as giving you ideas on positioning. I'm literally brainstorming positioning for your business, which is really, really valuable for you, because the way that you've been looking at your business is how you've been looking at it, or however whoever's been running your business is looking at it. And today you have the chance to look at it differently. So that's what I want for you. Go ahead and come back at 12:50 and we will see you then. And in the meantime, if you want to raise your hand to volunteer, if you want to, when we come back, if you want to ask any questions to clarify, or if you have, any issues with what I'm teaching, I would love to hear from you. All right, guys. Hello, everyone. I don't know if everybody is back. Am I too early? Danisha, I see your message, so that's really cool. We could start with you even. Let's see if anybody's here to volunteer. I don't know. I don't know if I'm here by myself or is Brittany here? I will wait till I hear from Brittany. Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome. So, do we have any volunteers, or should we just start with Danisha, who volunteered because nobody else would go? And then we'll go ahead and pick random people.
So we're going to bring her up to the stage. There we go.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, Danisha. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you for this informative session. I found it very helpful. And thank you again to the Eastern Council for forwarding that invitation to us.
I really love it. I love meeting the other groups. I've also met the southern one, Maat. I don't know if you've met her, but I just love meeting all the new. And you guys are so much closer.
Yes,
I'm
we
in
are.
Toronto. Like I'm in Toronto, so it's great. Maybe when the borders open, I'll see you guys.
Yes, hopefully.
All right. Okay. So, what is it that you do, and who do you help?
So I don't have that pitch. I don't have that pain statistic that you recommended at the moment, but I could talk about the other parts. So I'm the associate of MB Services here at the New York and New Jersey Minority Supplier Development Council, and this year I recently graduated from the Rutgers Business School with my bachelor's degree in supply chain management. And throughout my time at Rutgers, I had the incredible opportunity to intern at the New York and New Jersey Council, where I really got to see the MBEs passionately talk about their businesses and also be hopeful to potentially get a business opportunity with other corporate members or any businesses in our New York and New Jersey area. And although that may be difficult at times, however, that's where I got my passion to to help diversify the large supply chains in our area, and through specific like sourcing and vendor recommendation services that we offer. And that's something I'm really passionate about and hope to grow one day later throughout my career in supplier diversity and procurement. And I know people on this call are also MBEs. So if you have any questions about our council and how other regional councils and our council have a subscription services, if you're interested in that, to perhaps grow your business and expand your reach in other parts of the United States and other regions, please feel free to email me. I will also leave my email in the chat.
Okay, so awesome. Danisha, this is such a good educational moment for everyone, as well as hopefully it's going to help you. So, you have two audiences. One is the corporations that you're trying to engage into becoming involved in the council, and then the MBEs that you're trying to help make better use of the council services so that they can expand and grow faster. Uh, which would you like to start with?
MBEs for now.
Okay. So, what is the number one problem that they have that you can help with?
Well, I would say that MBEs once they become certified, sometimes most MBEs would of course have that expectation to receive, I mean, to get a business opportunity or right after becoming certified, but sometimes that's not the case because it depends on what the corporate member requests to us, at that moment. So that's not a guaranteed opportunity from at least something that we could tell you as soon as you become certified. So that's a pain that MBs may have. However, with over time and throughout after networking, meeting the right people, they can enhance that opportunity or that chance.
How can you help? What is it that you do that's specific to help them? Let's hone it in.
Mm-hmm. So, well, we provide both education opportunities for business, our certified MBs, to really understand how they can do business with with our corporate members, and that's like some of the events that throughout our events we provide those type of education opportunities, and we provide networking opportunities for MBs to connect with other certified MBs or other corporate members that maybe they might not be able to connect if it weren't for a bridging council like this.
Okay, so it sounds to me like the number one problem is 2 out of 3 diverse businesses have no way, or whatever that is. 75% of diverse business owners that we talk to claim that they have no way of meeting corporate buyers, corporate decision makers. What we do is we create events and opportunities to get them to meet at least on average 5 decision makers a year, a month, or whatever. If you have some of those statistics, you could, thread them in. Another one you can thread in is how much you get, like what is the average what is the average contract that they close? Did you know that 75% of diverse business owners complain that they can't meet the high end, the top tier corporate buyer? But what we do is through our work with certifying, networking, and education, the average MBE closes, or MBEs close on average $5 million a year through our membership. That would tell me, one, what the problem is, who you help, how you help, and then what the results are. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that end. Okay. And then let's do the other end. What is the problem that corporations have that you help with?
I mainly work in the MB services department, so I wanted to focus on that more today. So some of my other colleagues would know more about the corporate services side. But and for the sake of time, I wanted to just talk about the MB services, if that's okay.
Is that the part that we just did?
Yes.
Okay, so you don't want to talk about the other part? That's okay. That's fine.
Yeah, I think that would take extra time too, and I want to give others the opportunity.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome. All right, Harvey, you're back. You're back next. And then we start picking people. All right. See, Harvey saw that I'm not scary.
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay.
All right, so you want to take a shot at introducing yourself? Go for it.
Okay. What I want to do, of course, I'm the CEO of Innovative Business Products and Services. We do leadership and diversity training to corporations, and we're trying to get into the government sector. We've been in business about 5 years, a little over 5 years, but I've been involved in diversity training and leadership training since the 1970s, so quite a long time.
Ooh.
What I'd like to do would be to take a stab at my elevator pitch formula or statement.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. 60% of senior managers do not know how to effectively communicate with a diverse staff. What I can do is to train your managers to become more effective communicators, which can improve your better line by 10%.
Bottom line by 10%, yeah. Improve your bottom line by 10%?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the result.
Okay. There's a lot of good in here, Harvey. So you've done a lot of the stuff that we talked about. Okay. So the first is, hopefully you're in front of an airport transportation company, right? That's
yes.
What we determined is. So let's say you are. So in which case, let's pretend that you are. Then you would say, what I do is 60% of airport transportation companies. And the problem is, remember we went to the problem, and the number one problem, I think you said, was turnover?
That was second.
That was second. So what's the most painful one, let's say, that they picked after you talked to them, do you think?
Was to improve relationships among the diverse staff.
So that was that missing sales targets due to diverse staff relationships? Okay.
That's correct.
So then you would say 60% of airport transportation companies are missing their sales targets due to the miscommunications between their diverse staff, or due to the bad, whatever you called it, due to the lack of communication between their diverse staff.
Okay.
Or due to the lack of communications with their diverse staff.
Okay.
What we do is we have coaching, training, consulting programs to help develop new communication skills within the company to improve their sales targets. So remember, the result has to relate to the problem, because the bottom line was not the problem. The problem was the top line. So does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
The statistic is great, but it has to relate to the business problem, which was losing sales.
Right.
Missing sales targets. And then you say what you do. And then the result is, it has to tie into what you said at the beginning, which is the sales target. So we make sure that, we reduce the miss by at least half.
Right.
Right. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. A
Okay.
question for you.
Yeah.
Is this a good way of, the initial contact we have is through an email to the minority supplier coordinator? Is this a good time to share this kind of information with them? Or is this better directed to a buyer?
I do both. So this is what we do. So with clients, and most, like 90% of my clients are WBE MB, because that's my world, right? That's my super niche. So, and they spend years and years trying to get in front of these people. And, they're all often like, they're not really getting anywhere, because they're not really saying the right things. Like what you just did is you're trying to get in with a hook. So what we do is before we're going to meet with the supplier diversity officer, we reach out to the buyer offline. So we phone them, email them. We call it CMC, call, mail, call, email, call. So you leave a voicemail, and then you drop a one-liner and say, like, I'm going to be meeting your, supplier diversity officer tomorrow or next week. And I would love to send some information through them to you, or I would love to send this trend book, or I would love to send this report, or I would love to send, and it has to do with their pain. So if the buyer is in that kind of pain and you're sending them some form of solution, you could be sending a white paper, you could be sending a report, you could be sending like a video, something of value. You could be sending a book. Like you could be like, I've written 4 books. So, but it's always about the problem, right? It's always a solution to the problem. So then you've got the buyer's interest. Then you've got the diversity officer who you literally give them this thing. And, you say, I've already either spoken to, or I've communicated, or I've written, or I've left a message for this person. Could you please give it to them? That's how we do it.
Okay.
And then we follow up with both, because it's not one or the other. You want to leverage your, your certification. You want to leverage that person. They're there to help you. And in most times they want to help you way more than the buyer, because the buyer just wants, he's looking at the bottom line. He's dealing with 1,000 of you. And unless something's broke, they don't want to fix it. So do you see how it's always about trying to get you in front of both? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Yes.
Okay, great. All right.
Thank you for great information.
You're welcome.
Great workshop.
It's my world. Thank you. All right. So Shannon's good enough to go again. So let's take Shannon. I really am sorry that like a lot of you aren't, participating, but maybe we'll get some more by the end. So let's get Shannon back up here. And while you do that, I forgot my drink. So I'm going to go get my drink. I'll be right back. Shannon, we're waiting for you. All right. Has Shannon been pulled up here? Here he is.
It was still waiting to be accepted. So for
Nice.
those of you who are scared to volunteer because you're worried about talking out loud or you may not have a great pitch, I'm going to make you look really good right now. So just a little bit of background. I was an industry executive, a CISO in the past, and I've taken a jump into starting the business. So I'm an absolute horrible salesperson. So hopefully that'll make the rest of you feel a lot better.
Definitely.
One of the things that happened during this conversation was I realized my sales pitch was not tailored properly. And in the midst of this conversation over the past 2 hours, I decided to change it. Not to say good, but I don't know what I've changed it to yet. But
okay, well, let's see it.
Right. In the past, it really focused around breaches and the cost of a breach, to organizations. So, the average cost of a data breach in 2020 was globally was 3.86 million to companies. Obviously, that's for large companies and smaller companies. Interestingly enough, in the United States, it's more than double that. In the United States, the cost of a breach is about 8.8 million for companies in the U.S. for different reasons. That's because of not meeting different regulatory compliance like PCI, SOX, HIPAA, and so forth. So at Nathaniel Rand, our business focuses on providing keystone strategies and components that significantly enhances the security and performance of our clients' complex technology and environments. We provide cornerstone cybersecurity strategies and components to protect your mission-critical assets, people, and culture. One of the most important things that I have found in my 20 years leading cybersecurity programs in different environments, like government, transportation, CPG, and media, was that a lot of companies buy technologies, but they don't think about how it fits into their organization, its culture, and its business. And I think that's one of the main reasons for breaches is not understanding how to implement tactical technologies in their environments. People have a tendency of just buying the best. Chala's about to buy her dream car. Her dream car is very different than someone else's dream car. When you look at statistics, it'll tell you that one car might be the best in the world, but that's not customized to Chala's experience. And I think a lot of people end up buying technologies because it's in the news or in reports or it's somewhere else that just doesn't fit in their business. And that's what we try to do. We try to find the right fit technologies to reduce your risk exposure. So that was the previous one. What the new one's going to be, I have no clue. So,
okay. I love the blue background.
Yes, he's probably the best pitch that I have.
Exactly. Just for the baby. All right. Okay. So there was a lot of pain in there. So from that aspect, that's good. But so again, I'm imagining, Shannon, that you're in front of a transportation buyer, right? You're in front of your audience. And so what I'd love is to pick out for the transportation, because I think that's what you said, right? Transportation was your chosen highest ranking, right?
But my target would not be the buyer because usually buyers don't have that level.
Yeah. So whoever
at the
CTO, CTO. So you said a whole bunch of different pain points, and I'd like to know for the transportation industry right now, what is the number one most expensive one? So you talked about lack of customization, which is the number one problem. Which is a problem. You talked about regulation, like lack of being compliant.
So
let's break it down.
Yeah, one of the most important things or one of the biggest failures is a lack of visibility in their environment. They have very few insight into their large environments that sometimes were built 100 years ago with tens of thousands of people across either a a localized area or a geographical area. So the number one thing that we've been finding is a lack of visibility and understanding in their own environment to even get to answer the question, how do we solve this?
Okay, so did you do the exercise with the 3 pain points?
I did, yes.
What were the 3?
Three key points were identifying risk, reducing risk in alignment with business goals and culture, and have an adaptable tactical risk reduction program.
Adaptable risk production
Adaptable
reduction.
risk reduction program, meaning that technologies change frequently. How do we allow them to adapt to those changes?
Right. So these are not pain points. So
Okay.
what I'd like you to talk about. So like I picked out some pain points from your elevator pitch, but I'd like to actually talk about the 3 that you picked for your exercise. So identifying risk. What is the cost to the business if they don't identify the risk? Like what is the facet of the pain of identifying risk? And I think it has to do with lack of visibility that you're talking about, right? So the number one problem is, one of them is they can't see, they have no visibility to the entire environment because it's old. Is that why?
Yep.
It's just because it's old, or is because it's done wrong, or?
Because it's old, it's different cultures. Larger environments usually have multiple silos. Within, let's say, for instance, transportation has multiple silos. The people who fix the equipment versus those who move people, those who fix the roads, those who allow planes to take off and come in. They're all different areas that usually work within their own silos. So the lack of visibility is due to the walls between those silos.
So, and it's causing security leaks, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's number one, is the lack of visibility of the entire environment due to multiple silos or due to age of infrastructure. Is that it?
Yep, age of infrastructure and equipment.
Okay, so then the number 2 is reduce the risk in line with the business culture. What problem is that? What facet of the problem is that?
The best way I could describe it is, sometimes you have even within the same company, different cultures within different organizations in how they do their business in their respective areas. So they have a hard time adapting to change, especially coming together and having one direction, one vision.
So, but what does that mean? So that the leadership is dictating different things are being done, or different leadership styles are causing different scope of work around security? What is the problem exactly?
Yeah, let me noodle on that a little bit. I'm gonna have to
Okay, so that's less clear to me. And then the next one is the adaptable, changeable technology is the problem. So does that mean that the security leaks are constantly needing to be revised, or security protocols are constantly needing to be revised in line with new developments, technological developments?
Exactly. So new technologies are coming about to adapt to the various new hacks that are coming out. And companies get complacent with old technologies, with old ways of doing business, and not having an adaptable strategy.
Okay, so out of the 2 we've identified, the third one I'm not so sure about. Well, the third one could be compliance, right? That they're not compliant.
Sure.
Okay, so of the 3, which is the most expensive one that you run into most often in transportation companies?
It's the third one, having an adaptable tactical strategy.
Great. So let's put a pain statistic. I'm going to make it up now, but you can look it up. Is that 75% of transportation companies are hacked because their existing protection is not keeping up with developing technologies, is not keeping up with developing hackers. Could we say that? Is that accurate?
Yeah, minus the numbers, sure.
Right. Like you'll look up the number, or you'll talk to, like, say 10 of the technology or of the transportation companies and see how many of them agree with that statement. So then you could position it as 75% of transportation directors, CTOs that I spoke to agree that the number of hacks are constantly coming because their existing protocols are not protecting them from new technologies, new attacks, new attack technologies, however the wording is that they use. So then, instead of introducing yourself by saying all the things that you guys do, if you were here and this was a CTO call for transportation technologies, you would simply say, did you know? And you don't even start with who you are or your company name, because honestly, most people just care about themselves. So it's highly contentious. But when I do, did you ever hear me say, my name is Chala Dinkoy, I'm the CEO and founder of the Repositioning Expert, when I did my elevator pitch? You didn't. And it's not because I was training, it's because it's true. That's the way that I do it. And somehow, if they're interested, they're like, I need your card. So that's what I want for you, for all of you, but for you too, Shannon, for you to say, because cybersecurity is so huge. It is so generic. Everyone is doing it at every level. So the only way you're going to make a differentiator for yourself is just super niche into one hook of one facet of a problem. And if you become the poster child for new hacker technologies, that should be your, your business name is newhackertechnologysolutions.com. Right? Because then they're going to know, oh my God, this guy, he's the guy to go to if, I'm really worried about, everything that's happening to us is because everything we've paid for is no longer any good because there's a new hack down the line. Does that make sense?
Very much so.
Okay. So then as a business, if you were my client, we would take that. First of all, we would verify everything with the market. I would never take what you're saying as truth. I'm sorry. Nope. Even though you sound very smart, we would go out and check in the market whether that was true or not. And that was the key, that was the golden key that was going to open all their doors. And then if we figure out that the new hacker technology is the way in, then we develop all of your content, all of your marketing, your taglines, your brand name, everything, your blogs, your keynotes. We can have you do a podcast named, New Hacker Technologies. That's how you become an expert. Does that make sense?
It does, absolutely.
All right. Okay, well, thank you for playing.
Thanks for taking the time.
All right. Okay, everyone. So are there any more? I said 5, and we've had 3 now. We've had 3. Is there anybody else who would like to volunteer? Ooh, we have someone. Ooh, we had someone, and they're gone. Brittany, did you see a person, or am I starting to dream?
No, I did see them. If you can, I probably can pull you up. I think it was Freddie. Yeah, they were on for like a brief second.
So Ash, you asked, in case we have multiple products, do you suggest having multiple elevator pitch? I rather you focus on, first of all, do the research to figure out which is the Trojan horse to lead, and then do a whole strategy on penetrating through that one product or service, and then cross-sell other products and services once you're inside, if that makes any sense at all. Having failed that, use the way that I'm teaching you around pain messaging to be able to get in. All right.
So I sent the invitation for Freddie. I think he's joined the stage now.
All right.
All right. Hello. Can you hear me?
Hey, Freddie, we saw you for a minute. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
Good. I'm so glad to have a
Right.
You're beating down my door. Bunch. I'm so happy to see.
Not a problem.
All right.
Okay, so where we starting at?
So tell me who you help and what you do for a living in the format of who you help plus what problem you solve. How do you help? I do hear.
We're Dempsey Business Systems of Louisiana. We are a value-added reseller of information technology and products and services. Right now, we're trying to focus on education. And the 3 pain points that we have in education are product reliability, consumables, and access to both products and services.
Okay, so let's say the education. So is that like universities?
We do K through 12 and higher education. Most of our money comes through K through 12 right now, but we do have a couple of clients in higher education as well.
Okay, so let's say we help schools. Start with schools. And then what is the problem you're solving? That's expensive.
It's in part of my pitch. Do you want me to go ahead and give you my pitch, and then we can talk about that afterwards? No, that was not the beginning of the pitch.
That is the pitch. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, well, let me start out as my name is Freddie Price with Dempsey Business Systems of Louisiana. I just said that. We are a value-added reseller of information technology products and services. Our main focus is on Epson active equipment and printers. 58% of classroom students cannot read from a 70-inch flat panel. Our 100-inch whiteboards are 77% larger than a 75-inch flat panel while being able to be seen in the brightest of classrooms. You can also save up to 80% with low-cost ink replacement bottles versus ink cartridges using our Epson printers. I would also like to inform you that there's federal grant money available that may help pay for our products and services. If you're interested, could you please call Mr. Freddie Price?
Okay, so let me ask you, is the problem that a bunch of problems, but the most expensive problem, boards are too small for children to see?
Yes, the active panels that we were replacing in K through 12, they're not only are they too small, a lot of the classroom cannot see them, and then they have to turn the lights off for the classroom students to see them. Ours flat panels are able to be seen in the brightest of lights, and they're twice the size of what classrooms have right now.
Okay, can we make it into a money problem that these kids can see the whiteboard? What is the money problem? Or are they being like students? Like, what's the problem that we can ladder it up to?
Well, the biggest problem is these flat panels that they have now are not efficient, and they need to be serviced a lot. Our Epson product have a low service rate, so they don't break down a lot. And they are laser projectors, so they have no lamps to replace. They're quiet, and they give you up to 20,000 hours of classroom time before the first service.
Can we like ladder it up to $1? It sounds like read the whiteboard. That's not as sensitive issue as the servicing and breaking.
I can't hear as much. Did you hear what you said? I can't. I'm having a hard time hearing what you just said. I'm sorry.
Okay, let me repeat it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Freddie, I think your sound is a little loud. So it's echoing back and forth.
Okay, let me see if I can fix that right now.
Or you're on 2 screens.
I'm on 2 screens.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to mute one or
the other, yeah.
All right, there.
How about now?
Is that better?
Yes, it's better.
I still hear a little bit of feedback.
Do you want to shut down? Is there more than one screen? Or one?
Yes, ma'am. We're working on that right now.
Okay. The IT systems, isn't that ironic?
Exactly.
I know. So can you hear me a little bit though?
Yes, ma'am, I can. I can hear you a lot better now.
Oh, good. Okay. So what I was saying is, do you think that the servicing a lot and being efficient, the printer, the absence part is more expensive for schools than the not being able to see the whiteboard part? Like, which is bigger deal?
The reliability, the breaking down of their active equipment versus ours doesn't need to be serviced. We have a laser projector system versus a lamp system. Their lamps break down and need to be replaced more. So when our laser does not need to be replaced for up to 20,000 hours.
Great. So could that be, if that, and how much money does that save? Do you have an estimate of kind of like over a year for a school?
Not off the top of my head, but that's a good question.
But if you could, so it would be like something like if you were to, and who buys from you? Like, who do you have to talk to, Freddie? Like, is it?
We talk to school boards, mainly the purchasing department of school boards. They buy from us.
So where do these people, do they gather somewhere? Is there a meeting, association, some trade show? Do they go somewhere, anywhere that you can meet them at, where you can?
Yes, there's a yearly trade show in New Orleans called LaQ, where we meet the teachers and the purchasers.
Okay, so perfect. So let's say you're there. What I would say to them would be, if I met somebody there and they said, oh, you know, it's nice to meet you, what is it that you do? Then what I would say is, well, did you know that I would come up with that saving or that problem statistic. So it would be like, did you know that $30 million a year are lost by the Louisiana school board system because they're servicing, constantly breaking down machines and printers? Well, what we do is we fix that by introducing this new system.
Yes.
And saving them, 90% of that expense.
Right.
And then you say, would that help you? You just turn it around on them and say, is that something you've been having? Like, do you find that that's something you've been having? That's why it's great to have a pain-based elevator pitch. As soon as you say like when I meet businesses like you, let's say I met you at a networking, Freddie, and then I would say, do you know that most business owners, when they introduce themselves to a prospect, nobody ever asks them, can I get more information? Well, what I do is I fix what they're saying. So they'll always ask you for your card or for an appointment when you introduce yourself. So that's when, and then I say, Freddie, does that ever happen to you? Do you ever experience that? Or is it just the people that I've been talking to? And then you say, yeah, that happens to me all the time. Or you say, nah, I'm pretty good. I get along. I get around on my own pretty good. Do you see how you can turn it around and say, hey, does that happen to your school?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And that's what when we're in schools, the product reliability is one of the biggest issues. That they do need service more than what our product does. Also, with the printers, the consumable part, they need cartridges. And with Epson, we do ink. It's more of ink bottles, replacement bottles.
Yeah.
Or toners.
So the challenge for you, Freddie, and I get asked this a lot, is do I talk about everything I do? And my sincere advice to you is don't.
Okay.
Figure out your leading horse, like, the Trojan horse, like figure out the hook, the one that's going to be the biggest problem for them, that they're always thinking about solving, that's most expensive for them. And then talk about just that one thing. Get yourself in there and then cross-sell everything else and say, hey, did you think about this other thing? And did you think about this other thing? Hey, did you know that I also do big font whiteboards that you never have to turn the lights off? The problem is, until you do remember the exercise we did in section 3, where we talked about, or section 2, where we talked about what is the biggest problem?
Yes.
Until you go out and you ask actual school board humans about it, you're going to be guessing it.
Right.
Remember, that's the biggest problem. I said, please don't guess. Just go out, ask as many as you can, like talk to 10, 15 people in school boards and say, of these 3 problems, which
One of
is the biggest problem, which
Right.
is the one that's most expensive, that's costing you the biggest headache. And then that's your door opener. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thanks for volunteering.
Well, no problem. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
All right, everyone. Okay, so we are going on to section 4. All right, we are on page 5, section 4, part 1. Okay, let me go on. And it's called Using Your Niche to Land Meetings. So let me just go on here. Yes, using your niche to land meetings. Now, how do you, let's map out where you're going to meet buyers to pitch to them. And I'm not just talking about through your certification, of course, the good people at these, the associations and organizations who are helping you, the the EMSDC, all of those guys, they're facilitating these meetings for you. But I'm talking about outside of those meetings where you're actually going to be pursuing the actual buyer of your services. This is where you meet them. One is, this is why I want you to pick an industry. You're going to be meeting them in industry, virtual or in-person conferences. Okay. That's why I come to these conferences, because my super target, super niche is in them. You guys, they're in them. They're in here. You're at these conferences. The second is the industry association meeting. If there is no association or organization, it's really hard to capture people. That's why I want you to target them. Humans only congregate in 2 ways, through industry or interest group. Okay. The third way is industry LinkedIn groups. If it's an industry, there's going to be human beings who are in those groups in LinkedIn, and you can literally talk to them. You can literally pose all the questions that I'm asking you to. You could do polls with them. You can introduce yourself to them. You can provide solutions to them. I had a client who did 15 minutes only on LinkedIn groups in her target. But if we hadn't picked an industry target, she wouldn't be in that group. The next one is industry publications. Every industry has a newsletter, it has a blog, it has a page, it has content, it has all sorts of ways to get in touch with their members. So get in front of them through those means. The other one is industry. Number 5 is industry podcasts. That's a really good one. Now, the podcasting industry itself is still so new that it's not that niched. So, for example, if you're a, let's say, a meeting planner for medical meetings, there's going to be no specific podcast that targets that specific area. So you have to go a little bit broader. But I use my podcasts both as a funnel to invite prospects who then talk to me after the show and become a client, and also for my visibility where I'm pushing it out to their networks and I'm displaying my expertise and I'm able to push it out to my networks as well. So it's a win-win. Both guesting and hosting on podcasts has exploded during COVID. That is one of the ways how I've made back the money that I've lost because I'm not able to get on stages anymore. And it works, you guys. I now have 2 people helping me do. One is helping me get guests. The other one is helping book me on actual podcasts. So look for industry podcasts. The other, number 6 in part 1 of section 4 of using your niche to land meetings is LinkedIn. And I'm talking about just messaging through LinkedIn. So at the beginning of COVID, I learned about something called social selling. Social selling is reaching out to people on LinkedIn and having meaningful conversations with them instead of just copy and pasting or spamming and botting them. But it's about knowing exactly who to target and then what to say around their specific need. And that's your elevator pitch, you guys. You're literally, once you connect to them, you're doing your elevator pitch to be able to help them. And they literally put their hand up and say, yes, I need messaging help. So in my case, I say I help, I spent 18 years saying no to suppliers trying to sell to me when I worked at corporations. And now I help companies turn it into a yes. Are you interested? in helping, in having my help in changing your messaging, in trying to get a meeting with them. And that is my message. And that goes out, and I'm getting yeses. People are putting their hands up and saying, yes, I'd like to have a meeting. Can I have your calendar invite? That's what I mean when I say LinkedIn. That's why you need a niche. That's why you need a target. That's why you need your one-liner, which is your elevator pitch. All right. And the last one, number 7 of using your niche to land meetings, is Twitter. One of the ways that we use Twitter is for people who won't respond to email, people who won't respond to phone calls. And phone calls are really, really hard to get people on the phone. We just prepare a script for voicemail now. We don't even try to get a live person, although it does happen, but it only happens if you do the call CMC, the call mail call. If you've been calling several times and they're interested and they want to talk to you. Picking up the phone and cold calling people is more and more, I should say, it's less and less likely to help you. It's more and more rejected. So, and I know because I've had people cold call me from LinkedIn and I felt very violated. And I'm an outreach expert. I'm the one who's doing a ton of outreach. I'm the one who's teaching a ton of outreach. I'm hiring people to do outreach for me. But that is just not one way to do it. Now, I have clients who are reaching out to MBEs or WBs or some industry association or interest group association that they both belong to, and reaching out cold on the phone, and it's working. But you have to warm it up through either someone you know or something you have in common, because otherwise it's creepy and it's scary, right? Don't do it. So the Twitter, how we use is if the phone's not working, if the emails are not working, and if they're active on Twitter, and some industries way more active than others, some age groups way more active than others. So you ascertain that they actually are communicating and they're active on that whatever platform. And the way we use Twitter is we mention them. And in fact, people have gotten in touch with actual celebrities through repeated mentions. And if you could imagine all of a sudden, because you get notified if you're being mentioned on Twitter or any social media, but Twitter is a platform for business that we do use. So one of my clients, who's an attorney in Florida, used this Twitter technique where he was trying to invite a woman, a target, a prospect, to an executive roundtable that we had planned for him, and he couldn't reach her. So within a day after he tweeted and mentioned her name, he was able to get in touch with her, and she was very interested and attended and ended up becoming working with him, becoming a client. So those are the 7 ways. I'll go through it again. Industry virtual or in-person conference. Number 2 is industry association meetings. Number 3 is industry LinkedIn groups. Number 4 is industry publications. Number 5 is industry podcasts. Number 6 is LinkedIn direct messaging. And then number 7 is Twitter. Do you have any questions about that while I take a sip? Okay. So part 2 is the steps to connect. How do you use this, right? And I've written those out for you. You join the events they go to, virtual or not, as much as you can. You connect on LinkedIn or email if you can get it. Now, one of the things that we're doing is we're meeting on different platforms. So there's a platform called Podmatch where I'm actually getting my guests, because you register as a guest and a host if you have a podcast. And then on podmatch.com, you pick each other. It's like a dating site, but for guesting. So we're picking people off Podmatch, but we're asking for their email address to connect to them. And then we're getting them onto an email sequence if they're our target, and we're sending them emails. So these are some kind of high-level sophisticated stuff that you can move to once you figure out your basic super niche of who you help, what you help them with, what is the problem that you solve. The third one I said is first establish a relationship. This is a one that, especially online, that people get wrong, is you really have to build some sort of level of minimal trust. And the way to do that is through sending them videos, giving them sort of free advice, or giving them free resources. My clients and I are always finding ways of developing some sort of assessment tools that are free, some sort of quizzes. I mean, there's quiz marketing. How big is this problem? Remember the question that I asked when you guys first showed up? And then there's other ways of getting them to trust you through sending them all the reports, the trends, the news. We actually have Sales Navigator on LinkedIn where my team goes in and tracks news about the competitors for our actual targets and sends them the news that comes out every day. I mean, it's very sophisticated, the Sales Navigator, and I think it's something like $100 a month, and you can literally send your prospects news about their competition. And then you're also apprised of all of their activities. So if they have a new press release, if they've liked, commented, or shared anything, you can literally go to that, whatever they shared, whatever the activity was, and comment on it. So there's so many things to be able to do around the LinkedIn and Sales Navigator. I think I'm seeing, in case you have multiple products, we talked about that. What are some of the ways of researching pain points clients are facing? So Ash, that's really great. That's a great question. If you remember from section 2, the number 1 way is to ask them. Number 2 way is to Google it, but then I want you to ask them to verify, to confirm. And then the 3rd way is to talk to people in their world, which is their suppliers and their vendors. Talk to other people who are, or their customers, right? Always talk to people who are in their world. Okay, all right. So I wanted you, and I'll give you 2 minutes to come up with 3 places by name that you'll meet your target prospects. So that's in the bottom of page 5. It's give me 3 places by name that you'll meet your target prospects. And then after the workshop, reach out to 1 decision maker. So I want you to say, like, I'm going to come to next month's EMSDC event on, October 14th, whatever that is. Number 2 is I'm going to meet them through this whatever other event or conference. And number 3 is I'm going to join their LinkedIn group named whatever. So I'll give you 2 minutes to write down 3 points of action for yourself on where and how you're going to reach them in their world. And I want you to use the section 4 places where we mapped out the 7 that you wrote down as I was saying them, 7 places to land a meeting. Okay, so I'll give you 2 minutes to do that. All right, everyone. Does anybody want to share where they're going to meet? I think I'm going to pick on Shannon because you seem to have a little bit more developed plan if you're here. Do you want to go ahead and either share your screen? Oh, he's got a call. All right. Okay, well, I'm going to move on to section number 5. So that's page number 6. So section number 5 is the capability statement makeover. And what it is this is the example of a client that we actually applied every principle that I'm teaching you about, looking at the pain point, looking at the industry, and focusing in on one service that they provide. So what Best Bargains does is, and I will share my screen so that you can see it in case you don't have the printout of what Best Bargains does. So Best Bargains is a jewelry company. So this was there before. This is what they did before. It was a multi-award-winning Canadian jewelry company, and they talked about how many countries and how many clients, and they had their, accomplishments. They had very detailed product information about their supply model and, their clients, who they were, and then their memberships and certifications. So it was very, very, it was pretty good. It was, one page. That's what people want, and that's great, right? But we made it better, and here's how we made it better. Who we are is we focused on the fact that they're an award-winning jewelry company, but providing 20% lower priced offerings to employee reward programs. So this was the beauty of our work together, is that we identified that the number one target for them was employee rewards programs. Otherwise, if you were to look at this before, you would just say she's a jewelry company, right? And you wouldn't really identify her as an employee reward program company. And then the core competencies are reward programs, online and just in time. Great. So it's very, very succinct, short, brief. Key clients. Now, some of you may not be allowed to use their logos. She was in that case. So I said, why not? Let's use it. And then the past performance success story is a must. And when we did the math, she was even like, agog. She couldn't even believe it. But she had an incredible 1,000 times less online purchase return compared to industry average. We literally had to calculate this because this is not anywhere on her previous version. And her differentiators, that's not even, if you look at the actual titles that she picked, that's not even a differentiator. There's not even anything that talks about a differentiator. So then we made up these differentiators, or we actually picked out differentiators where she actually had them, but she was never talking about them. They have a minimum 20% lower pricing, which is what we talked about right up front, because they have this proprietary gem sourcing and quality assurance method. And when I picked her brain, I said, okay, tell me about this method. Well, they have this unique training to source the gems. And the training, not only is their unique training, but they have 6 to 8 hours per order of visual inspection for the consistency, which she said was unprecedented in the industry. I don't know anything about this industry, but when I read the differentiators as we wrote them after she explained it to me, it made so much of a difference to look at her and to know exactly why she was the best candidate for the job, because not only does she offer lower pricing, but there's a reason for it. And it's offering me a higher quality. And it's triple checked. There's a triple quality inspection for each order. So that was a huge, huge bonus to what she was saying in that one-page document. And then, of course, the awards and recognition was there. And then the contact information. So the whole difference between the before and the after is in your section 5, pages 6 and 7. And I want you, as the next step, to build your capability statement by saying who you are, your core, but please do it in the format that I taught you. Don't put exactly what you used to put, all those times or what your elevator pitch was before you met me, you've now had close to 3 hours of training on who to target, what specialty to say that you do, and what problem you solve and how you solve it. The core competencies, try to give a success story while you're telling them what it is that you do better or differently. And of course, the key clients and references, that's the success story. Put it everywhere you can. Don't forget to add a differentiator. And if you don't have one, you have a super niche. If you've listened to this 3-hour lecture, now you have a super niche, and that's your differentiator. And then, of course, your awards recognition and contact information. So I hope that all makes sense. I'm going to stop sharing now. And let me know if you have any questions. And so that's all I have for you today. We've talked about how to figure out the gap in the market, how to pick the niche, the super niche of how to position yourself into that gap, and how to message to that gap, how to message to those people in a way that's going to resound with them because it's based on their pain that they're bleeding oodles and oodles of dollars from. Okay. So that's all for me today. I'll be very surprised if there's any questions, but let me know if there's anything, and I'm more than happy to answer them.
Hi, Shala. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
It's
I'm a little bit delayed, but yeah.
Got it. I don't know if you've seen the Q&A. There is a small Q&A off to the side.
So I've been answering them as I go. So I've answered, most of what Ash asked, and
Perfect.
So I think we're good.
Okay. If anybody has any questions, either type them, raise your hand. We can bring you onto the stage.
We've had good engagement from the people that were here. So I thank you for that, you guys. And I'm pretty sure that you've taken something new based on what I'm, hearing from the people who have engaged. So it's been my pleasure.
Yeah. I don't see anything coming in, but we never know. If you have any questions and we are off, you can email any of our staff members at emsdc.org. We also will provide Chala's website to you for those who've attended. We want to thank Chala for doing this repositioning of, this pitch workshop, and we hope that you join us for next week's Roar conference and take what you learned there and bring it to Roar.
I wish I could come, Brittany.
Oh, you're more than welcome. You can definitely.
I wish I could come. Yeah, talk to the border agents.
You can definitely come to at least virtual Roar.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me, you guys. Thanks so much.
Anytime. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.